Records, one old guy for now, while Sydney's lockdown restrictions continue. Again, Mike and I have decided to press on, still making some fun segments, discussing our passion for our records. Before I start, again, don't forget to like us on our Facebook page, where there was lots of discussion this week, and subscribe on our channel. Okay, as I promised yesterday, today's choice is a very, very odd choice, okay, of a duet. Discussing it with Theo from Bankstown. He sent in a message saying, hey, one of the oddest duets that he's come across is James Brown and Luciano Pavarotti. Odd choice. So that's the theme of today's episode. Okay, and today's choice is between, one of the most recognizable crooners in all the world and the outlaw of American country music, and that is none other than Julio Iglesias and Willie Nelson, To All the Girls I've Loved Before, from 1984, off the 1100 Bel Air Place album. That's Julio Iglesias' album, very successful. Okay, it was a chart topper. Before we get into the song, let's have a look at some context. Willie Nelson has done it all. Okay, since the 1950s he was writing songs for other artists. He had his own career in the 60s and retired, surprisingly. Okay, it was when he relocated in Texas that he sort of had a second wind or inspiration to start up again, and he had a series of very successful albums throughout the 70s: Shotgun Willie, Phases and Stages, and Redhead Stranger. And it was that 1976 album where he made with Codler and Glaser wanted the Outlaws, that gave him this image of being this outlaw. He did a gospel album called Troublemaker. Okay, so he is one of the most recognizable country stars in the USA. He even got to do movies like Honeysuckle. Okay, so there's a bit of trouble with the IRS. He also tours extensively all the time. Okay, so yes, that is Willie Nelson by the 1980s. On the other hand, you got Julio Iglesias. Where do you start with a superstar like him? His promising soccer career comes to an abrupt end with a serious car accident. He reinvents himself as a singer, and what a singer indeed, with a very, very successful career in Spain. He represents Spain in Eurovision 1970. He sings in all sorts of European languages like German, French and Italian with smash hits. Okay, so by the late 70s, early 80s, he's looking at a career move towards the English-speaking world and markets. Okay, so he's trying to enter that world and market. Okay, so that's where he is at that point. How does a plaited hair outlaw, Willie Nelson, come together with European chic Julio Iglesias? Okay, there's a great story to that. Okay, Willie Nelson was touring Europe in 1983. He was in London driving around, and this song came on the radio, and he just couldn't believe there's a voice. Okay, this voice that came on the radio. He asked his wife at the time, who had watched it, explain it was Julio Iglesias. He said, well, why haven't I sung with this guy? And she said, well, maybe you should. Okay, and at the concert at that night, he recounted the story to his audience. He realized he needed to do this song with Julio Iglesias. So through their management, okay, at the time, Julio Iglesias was in Los Angeles anyway, okay, and they arranged it. Okay, Julio Iglesias was working on his 1100 Bel Air album. The producer, of course, was Richard Perry, and he brought in Albert Hammond, who co-wrote To All the Girls I've Loved Before, which was initially intended for Frank Sinatra. Okay, so you've got these two very, very different singers coming together for this duet. Now, it serves its purpose because on this album that Julio Iglesias is preparing, he's already cut a duet with Diana Ross, and he's cut another duet with the Beach Boys. So he's already dealing with, America's rock and pop royalty. So this suits it perfectly because he's now got a very, very successful country singer. Okay, so you've got, on the one hand, the mellifluous voice of, Julio Iglesias. On the other side, you've got this earthy voice of Willie Nelson coming together, and it works, okay, because they're not trying to outdo each other. they're just being themselves. And on the colour, you can see how earthy they are. Okay, very, very 80s, I must say, especially with Julio Iglesias' attire. Okay, it fits more of a film clip with Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical. But anyway, bandanas. Okay, very, very earthy, very, very down to earth. And you know, my admiration for Julio Iglesias really grows because, you know, he does this duet with Willie Nelson, and then he sort of appears at Farm Aid too, you know, to raise money for the American farmers, organised by John Cougar Mellencamp and Willie Nelson. He gets on stage with Willie Nelson.
The winds of change are always blowing.
So you're performing at Farm Aid. On the one hand, you've got, you know, Julio Iglesias with his European attire, all looking suave as always. On the other side, you've got, you know, Willie Nelson in shorts with his Western hat, and it's just that odd chemistry that works. Okay, there's also a hilarious scene in the Jimmy Carson show where Julio Iglesias is meant to perform the song, and Willie Nelson isn't there, and guess who performs with him?
To all the girls I've loved before.
Jimmy Carson impersonating Willie Nelson, and that's hilarious. But what it shows the American audience is that Julio Iglesias is very down to earth. He has a great sense of humour, and he's amazing. So it was a great song, okay, despite two different artists seemingly, okay, and it worked. Where do they go from this point here? Julio Iglesias did smash it into the English-speaking world and market. You know, he toured the USA, he toured Australia, he toured everywhere. Okay, he was a world artist, and can I just say, if he was English-speaking in the first place, I think he would have been the most successful crooner of all time. Okay, as for Willie Nelson, he just continues being a legend. He just builds and builds on his image. He stars in more movies. He makes more records. Okay, Julio Iglesias reciprocates the gesture, and then he's featured on another duet with Willie Nelson called Spanish Eyes. Okay, so there it is. So they work again together, and you know, Willie Nelson, you know, he's part of the Highwaymen, the supergroup, the Highwaymen, the country music supergroup. And who hasn't done a duet with him? He has done a duet with all the stars, whether it's from Ray Charles to Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones. So, you know, he is the ultimate country music legend. Okay, so what a song, great, you know, great team up, great mashup, and you know, tell us what you think. Okay, Julio Iglesias and Willie Nelson. Okay, don't forget to like us on our Facebook page, send in your comments, and subscribe to our channel. Next week I've got a huge surprise for you. I'm going through my old EPs, my 4-track EPs, you know, from the 60s and 70s. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. See you next week. Thank you.